Welcome to the education module on interoception. My name is Carly, and I am an occupational therapy student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. In this module, we will explore the intricate relationship between interoception and the emotional well-being of children who've experienced trauma. The goal of this module is to help caregivers understand how trauma can disrupt the connection between the body and the emotions, particularly in relation to hunger and fullness. For children who face traumatic experiences, perceiving and interpreting their body signals can be challenging. Interoception, or the sense that allows us to detect and understand internal body sensations, plays a fundamental role in guiding us through the world. Interoception is like an internal compass, helping us navigate our emotions and our needs. But for some children, especially those who endure trauma, this compass might be skewed or even broken. The trauma they face can disrupt the connection between their emotions and the sensations within their bodies. In this module, we'll delve into the complexities of interoception, understanding the challenges that children with trauma encounter in recognizing hunger and fullness cues, and we will explore strategies and techniques to support these children in reestablishing a healthy body-emotion connection. Interoception is a sensory system made up of tiny sensors scattered all over the body. These sensors pick up messages or body signals from different parts of our body and sends them to our brain through special pathways. These sensors, pathways, and the brain work together to create our interoceptive sense, helping us feel what's happening inside us. Interoception helps us process body signals, allowing us to experience a wide array of emotions. These include affective emotions, which are the feelings related to our moods and reactions to the world around us, such as being relaxed, being angry, having anxiety, feeling joy or sadness. In addition, there are homeostatic emotions, which drive us to fulfill our essential needs like hunger, thirst, illness, pain, and sleep. Recognizing and understanding these signals motivates us to take action to satisfy these emotions appropriately, such as eating when hungry or sleeping when tired. Interoceptive awareness is the ability to notice and connect these body signals to our emotions. It's what prompts us to regulate our actions with our body's needs. It's our ability to detect these signals and sensations that our organs and nervous system send to our brain and lets us connect the dots between what's happening in our bodies and how we feel emotionally. It also helps us understand if we're hungry or full, if we're happy or sad, and so much more. It's not just about feeling these sensations, it's about understanding them and responding appropriately. When we are in tune with our interoceptive senses, we can make better decisions for our well-being and navigate life with greater awareness and mindfulness. Interoception involves both implicit and explicit aspects in how we perceive and respond to body signals. Implicit aspects are the automatic and unconscious processes that happen in our body without us actively thinking about them. For instance, when there's a drop in our blood pressure, our heart rate will automatically speed up to regulate our body. These reactions occur at an unconscious level, and they're constantly adjusting to the changes in the environment. If we unconsciously sense a threat, real or perceived, a series of protective changes kick in to prepare our body for flight, fright, or freeze. On the other hand, explicit interoceptive processes or interoceptive awareness involves our conscious and cognitive understanding of these body signals for the purpose of actively regulating our body and maintaining balance. Interoceptive awareness forms the foundation for all of our emotional experiences. People with a well-functioning interoceptive awareness tend to have a clearer understanding of their emotions. Imagine interoception as a scale to kind of understand how well we notice and understand what's happening inside our bodies. It's a spectrum that ranges from one end to the other. Some people have what we might call typical interoceptive awareness, which means they're pretty good at sensing and understanding their body signals. On the other hand, some people have what we would call atypical interoceptive awareness, which means they might struggle to notice or make sense of what their body is telling them. And then there are those who fall somewhere in between on this scale. They might be pretty good at some things, but not so great at others when it comes to sensing and understanding their body. For example, someone who may have clear emotional awareness in regards to when they're hungry or tired, but they may struggle to notice or make sense of what their body is telling them when it comes to certain emotions like anxiety or feeling overwhelmed by sensory experiences, or even when they're in pain. When someone has atypical interoceptive awareness, it means they face challenges in accurately identifying and understanding various emotions. This difficulty can lead to a range of issues, such as not being able to clearly determine how they feel, struggling to recognize a general sense of comfort or discomfort without being able to pinpoint specific emotions, and having trouble gauging the intensity of emotions, like distinguishing between mild frustration and explosive anger. An unclear interoceptive awareness can lead to challenges in recognizing and interpreting body signals, connecting them to emotions, and implementing appropriate actions for self-regulation. Someone with unclear interoceptive awareness may have a breakdown in noticing or correctly interpreting body signals. An individual may not have a timely or clear urge for action. For instance, if they struggle to sense hunger cues, they may not realize that they need to eat until they experience extreme discomfort or weakness, leading to irregular eating patterns. An individual may also have difficulty in emotion regulation. They may experience emotional states, but struggle to identify and label them accurately. They might feel upset, anxious, or stressed, but find it challenging to pinpoint the exact emotion or the cause behind it. They also may find it challenging to determine how to make their body feel calm, especially during moments of heightened stress or anxiety, and lack the ability to identify effective relaxation techniques or strategies to cope. Clear interoceptive awareness is essential for effective self-regulation, which includes managing emotions and responding to bodily needs. For instance, if someone can't discern the body signals of hunger accurately, they might have difficulty taking appropriate actions like eating a meal to alleviate hunger and maintain their well-being. Despite being taught coping strategies, a child might find it difficult to apply them effectively. This is because they might have a hard time identifying when they need to use these strategies, as they struggle to connect body sensations to corresponding emotions and appropriate coping mechanisms. An individual with impaired interoceptive awareness is also more dependent on external help and may rely heavily on external cues or guidance from others to understand and respond to their bodily needs and emotions, and often require external prompts to engage in self-regulation activities, and they may struggle to initiate these actions independently. A diminished perception of hunger cues, an individual with hyposensitivity may forget to eat or skip meals without realizing it. They don't experience the typical sensations of hunger that prompt most people to eat regularly. Over time, this hyposensitivity to hunger cues can lead to malnutrition and health problems because they are not responding to their body's natural signals for nourishment. An individual might also have inconsistent perception. So some individuals may experience interoceptive awareness that fluctuates, making it difficult to predict or manage their internal bodily states consistently. For example, they might have difficulty accurately perceiving when they're full, sometimes overeating because they don't recognize their body cues telling them they're full, while other times they stop eating early or don't eat at all because they misinterpret these cues. Atypical interoceptive awareness can also lead to misinterpretation of body signals. For example, an individual may misinterpret the sensations of an empty stomach as a sign of anxiety rather than hunger, or interpreting normal body sensations as signs of illness, or vice versa. An individual might also have difficulty regulating emotions and behaviors. Atypical interoception can affect emotional regulation and behaviors. And individuals may often struggle with high levels of emotional dysregulation and may struggle to understand and respond appropriately to their emotions, leading to challenges in managing stress, anxiety, and other emotional states, and can often result in frequent meltdowns or avoidance behaviors. Unfortunately, these behaviors can sometimes be misunderstood and lead to labels such as problematic or challenging. If you remember from Module 1, attachment is the emotional bond between a child and their caregiver and is a collaborative and reciprocal process, primarily achieved through co-regulation and the promotion of positive bodily sensations, and it ultimately nurtures a strong and healthy attachment. Our interoceptive processes are linked to the way we connect and bond with others. In typical children not impacted by trauma, a child develops interoceptive awareness in a supportive environment where the child receives guidance and support from a caring adult, allowing them to understand and interpret their body sensations. However, for children who have been through trauma or difficult experiences, this process can be disrupted. Due to the disruptions caused by traumatic experiences, they may not have had a consistent opportunities to learn through co-regulation. As a result, they might react in ways that seem unusual, like getting upset and yelling when they're hungry, or internalizing behaviors such as oversleeping. This lack of understanding and guidance during their early years can make it harder for them to connect what they're feeling inside with the appropriate actions, and in turn affect their ability to self-regulate and understand their needs. Interoceptive awareness allows an individual to move from co-regulation to self-regulation. A typical level of interoceptive awareness is a significant predictor of one's ability to self-regulate. This is because recognizing signals and connecting them to meaningful experiences serves as a motivation to regulate actions. To achieve self-regulation, one must be able to notice their body signals and connect them to emotions to regulate their actions accordingly. Self-regulation is a skill that helps children manage their emotions and behaviors on their own. It's important because it allows them to handle their feelings and actions in a healthy and appropriate way. When kids can self-regulate, they can calm themselves down when they're upset, focus on tasks, and take appropriate steps like asking for help before they become dysregulated. Interoceptive awareness is the bridge that helps children move from needing a lot of help, called co-regulation, to doing things on their own through self-regulation. As caregivers, you play a big role in helping your child develop self-regulation through interoceptive awareness. You can do this by providing comfort and support when they're upset, creating a safe and calm environment, and understanding that they might need help figuring out how to feel and what to do about it. For example, self-regulation is like a child learning how to ride a bike. Interoceptive awareness is a skill that helps the child learn when to pedal, steer, and brake. Your role as caregivers is to support your child as they learn this skill. Just like you'd help them balance or hold the bike at first, you need to help them recognize their body signals and understand what they mean. These body signals are the bike pedals that help the child know when to take action. For instance, if your child is hungry and their stomach is growling, an adult might recognize this and help the child label it, such as, your tummy is telling you it's time to eat, let's get some food. Additionally, the adult might provide further guidance by associating the action with the outcome, such as, now that you've eaten, your stomach is full and you feel better. When a child has trouble with interoceptive awareness, it's like not knowing when to pedal on the bike. They might get upset or anxious and they won't understand why. They might not recognize when they're hungry or tired or just need a break. As caregivers, it's important to understand that your child might need extra help recognizing and connecting these signals. You can guide them to notice when their body is telling them things like hunger or being upset, and help them link it to the right feeling, and then figure out what action can make them feel better, like having a snack or taking a break. Every child has their own way of self-regulating. Even if two kids feel the same emotion, like being angry, they might need different things to calm down. So instead of telling them what to do, encourage them to figure out what works best for them, letting them be the problem solvers. Children with histories of trauma, such as physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, neglect, or exposure to domestic violence, often experience disruptions in their interoceptive awareness due to maybe avoidance of sensations or due to depersonalization, which is a dissociative response and common in those with high stress and histories of trauma. These disruptions can manifest in a few different ways, such as hypervigilance and heightened arousal. Children who have experienced trauma may exhibit more frequent and heightened flight, fright, or freeze responses. The trauma rewires their nervous system, putting it in a constant state of alertness and hypervigilance. Children may be overly tuned to their internal body sensations and constantly scanning for signs of fear, like threat or danger. This heightened arousal can manifest in anxiety, fear, or persistent state of flight or fright. The limbic system in our brain processes emotions and memories, and it can guide actions and emotional responses based on past experiences, stored interoceptive memories, and learned social rules. Early in life, infants begin learning and storing these memories, like how a particular person, place, or stimulus made them feel. And these memories guide an automatic response and interactions for future situations. So let's consider a child who endured physical abuse in their early years. Their limbic system processes intense emotions like fear, helplessness, and distress associated with the traumatic episode of abuse. These emotional experiences become deeply ingrained in that child's memory. The child's interoceptive system then registers extreme physiological responses during the abuse, such as accelerated heartbeat, shortness of breath, and heightened sense of pain. These intense body sensations become interoceptive memories linked to these traumatic events. As a child grows and encounters similar situations to the trauma, the stored interoceptive memories can be triggered. For example, if they experience a sudden loud or aggressive gesture, their interoceptive memories associated with the trauma might lead to a heightened flight or fright response, which is characterized by a surge in adrenaline, muscle tension, and overwhelming urge to escape. These memories guide the child's automatic physiological and emotional response in similar situations, often leading to an exaggerated or maladaptive response. It's important to be mindful that engaging in activities of daily living that are associated with past traumatic experiences can trigger a flight, fright, or freeze response. If you remember the flipped lid analogy from Module 1, this response can be intense and overwhelming, often hindering the child's ability to engage in reasoning or negotiation, and often leads to impulsive behaviors or emotional outbursts. The brain's rational and reasoning capacities are temporarily overridden by the trauma-induced stress response. Children with histories of trauma often struggle to accurately detect and interpret the physiological indicators accompanying internal sensations, such as shifts in heart rate. In a typical individual, when faced with stress or hunger, they might notice a growling stomach or an increased heart rate and respond by seeking food for regulation or taking calming breaths to manage stress. However, for a child with a history of trauma, this awareness of bodily signals and appropriate responses is often disrupted. The trauma can cause a dissociation between bodily sensations and conscious awareness, making it difficult for them to connect these cues to appropriate actions. In terms of behavioral responses, children with trauma histories tend to externalize their distress, such as hitting, kicking, or yelling. This externalization may be a sign of the internal conflict and may be a reflection of their difficulties in regulating and expressing emotions in a more controlled manner. Trauma can impact a child's relationship with food, eating habits, and their ability to understand and respond to hunger, fullness, and other internal cues. This module will primarily give you strategies to support interoceptive awareness related to food and meal times, such as hunger and fullness. However, I will briefly touch upon some other interoception and self-regulation strategies, and will provide resources and further information that you can read. Otherwise, this module would be hours long. In addition, if you have any concerns about your child, I recommend you seek out a healthcare professional, such as an occupational therapist, to help you and your child with their specific needs. First, I'm going to go over some self-regulation strategies. So helping a child with difficulty in interoception and self-regulation involves a combination of both proactive and reactive strategies. Proactive strategies aim to prevent or minimize challenges before they occur, while reactive strategies are implemented in response to specific situations or behaviors. So some proactive strategies include educating yourself and your child. So learn about interoception and self-regulation so you can better understand your child's challenges. Then you can simplify this knowledge to explain to your child in an age-appropriate manner. Next, create a structured routine. Establish a predictable daily schedule for meals, activities, and rest. Predictability helps the child anticipate what comes next, reducing anxiety and improving self-regulation. Don't change your schedule or expect quick transitions without warning or preparation. You can also use visual aids like visual schedules and visual timers, such as the visual countdown timer from the App Store, a sand timer, or Google Countdown timer on YouTube. These will help your child anticipate transitions and manage their time effectively. Visual timers are great tools to use because time is a very abstract concept, and it's not something that we can see or touch. So many children with and without histories of trauma have difficulty grasping time. So example, you saying dinner is in 10 minutes won't mean much, but by using a visual timer, the child will visually be able to see the time passing by. You can also use visual schedules, which are great tools to allow the child to see the order of events that day. I also recommend
creating a sensory-friendly environment. So design their child's environment to accommodate their sensory needs. Provide sensory tools, quiet spaces, and adjust lighting, sounds, and textures to suit their preferences. You can adapt tasks and modify or reduce environmental demands as needed. In addition, you can provide numerous opportunities throughout the day for your child to make choices, as well as express their wants and needs. So example, give your child the option to choose between 2 or 3 options for activities or meals in order to have a sense of control over parts of their life. You can say, give your child the option of, do you want to shower now, or you can shower in 30 minutes? Or give them the option between dinner, such as, do you want spaghetti or meatloaf for dinner? It can be as simple as that. In addition, practice emotional regulation. So help the child learn different ways to express their emotions constructively, such as using I statements and identifying appropriate coping mechanisms. Avoid telling your child what emotion state you think they are in, but instead guide them with options and talking through it. Help describe to your child what physical signs you're observing in them instead of labeling the emotion that goes with it. So instead of saying, you seem angry, you should say, or you could say, I see your hands are clenched tight and your voice has gotten lower and louder. I wonder what is going on for you.
So some examples of reactive strategies, which are implemented in response to a specific situation or behavior. You can create a calm down corner. So designate a specific space where the child can retreat to when they're feeling overwhelmed. So equip it with calming and sensory items and tools. This is not a timeout, and you as a caregiver may need to stay with them to co-regulate before they can use it by themselves for self-regulation. So validate and empathize with them too. Acknowledge their feelings and emotions, showing understanding and empathy, and this helps them feel heard and supported. And next, it's important that you model self-regulation. So demonstrate self-regulation techniques and strategies during challenging moments to provide a practical example for your child. After a challenging situation, have an open and non-judgmental conversation with them. Encourage them to reflect on what happened and discuss alternative, more appropriate responses. When your child makes an error, offer them an opportunity for a redo. This helps them build motor memory for the correct action. Avoid verbally repeating what your child did wrong without giving them an opportunity to practice and experience success. You can also communicate and reflect when you lose your regulation state and make a mistake. In this way, you demonstrate to the child that you are trustworthy and that you own your mistake, and use the same tools that you're trying to teach them. This also allows the child to see that ruptures can occur in relationships, but they also can be repaired. In this way, the child learns to see how redos can happen by watching them and modeling from them. On the next page, I have included various checklists of various activities to complete with your child to figure out what activities work in times of dysregulation or anxiety or big emotions. It's extremely important to note that you should not try any new activity in a state of dysregulation or a meltdown. So create and find opportunities for small, frequent bursts of regulation activities together to figure out what works, rather than waiting until your child is distressed to figure out if it works or not. It's also important that if your child is experiencing dysregulation, that you don't say, use those strategies that you were taught, because it's already too late. Instead, using co-regulation, participate in coping strategies and activities with your child, such as by listening to music together or dancing together. By being present, you are conveying to your child that you are there and that you can get through this together, rather than leaving them to figure it out alone. Over time, consistently being present will help their automatic memory update with positive memories and associations, and their flight or fright response will be less sensitive. In addition, be mindful when picking activities. So pick an activity that will be easy to stop doing. You want the activity to be engaging enough to help regulate your child, but not one that will be hard to stop or transition away from. Save those activities for when you have plenty of time. Additionally, once you and your child have identified activities that make them feel good, write it down in a separate list to use in times of anxiety, and practice them over and over again, so that when it comes to their meltdown, the activity will be habit routine, which will require less thinking. If you remember from the flipped lid analogy, in times of dysregulation, reasoning and rational thinking is impaired. So practicing an activity until it's almost automatic is really important during these times. Over time, with lots and lots of practice and appropriate supportive modeling and co-regulation, your child will begin to implement these coping strategies independently. Here I've provided various lists with different strategies to use and work through with your child. You can schedule breaks during the day to try a new activity, and it doesn't have to be long. You can set a visual timer for your child and resume your activity once the timer is up. Work your way through some or all of these and have your child help pick out preferred activities that make them feel good. Help your child identify how they feel before and after their coping activity. The coping skill toolbox that I have linked here has numerous worksheets and activity sheets that you can print out to help with this. Be mindful of your child's interoceptive awareness when asking your child how they feel. Some children may not be able to answer that question right away, but instead be prepared to help guide them to an answer. Things included on these lists include sensory and movement coping activities, strategies such as going to a quiet, comforting space or going for a walk. It's up to you and your child to figure out what works. In addition, I provided you some social stories as well as a template if you wanted to create your own. Social stories are wonderful tools that can greatly benefit children in understanding and navigating emotions and regulation. Social stories can be simple narratives written in a way that child can easily understand, and they use familiar and relatable language to explain abstract concepts like emotion, body sensations, and self-regulation, which makes it easier for your child to grasp these important ideas. Social stories often include visuals or pictures, and that helps aid in comprehension. Children who struggle with processing information can really benefit from these visuals as they enhance understanding and retention of the content. Social stories can also help your child identify and connect with different emotions. By reading about characters experiencing similar feelings, your child can better relate to those emotions, helping them understand what they're feeling and why. Encouraging both explicit and implicit interoception helps children develop a better understanding of their bodies and emotions. It supports their ability to regulate emotions, communicate their needs, and navigate the world around them more effectively. First, the child must feel safe and regulated to develop the ability to turn their attention inward and become more aware of their body sensations and emotions. So when a child or individual feels safe and supported, their nervous system becomes more regulated. It provides a steady foundation that allows them to explore their own internal experiences without feeling overwhelmed or threatened. This forms the basis for implicit interoception. The person's body and mind start to learn that it's okay to feel and experience things within themselves because there's a reliable external support system. So remember, implicit interoception is the unconscious or automatic awareness of our body sensations. It's not something that we actively think about or put into words. For instance, when you automatically start to sweat, if you're nervous, that's implicit interoception. We can't really change our implicit interoception through conscious awareness. If you think implicit is an issue, it may need medical or chemical intervention. Strategies to implement at this level include providing support to promote homeostatic regulation, or the body's attempt to maintain a constant and balanced internal environment. This includes providing regular balanced meal times, consistent bedtimes, ensuring the child stays hydrated, and structured activities that help regulate the child's biological rhythms. You can also implement calming techniques such as deep breathing techniques, gentle touch, or verbal reassurance. Explicit interoception is when we are consciously aware of our body sensations. For example, when we say, I'm hungry, or I'm tired, or I'm feeling my heart race, we are using explicit interoception. It's being able to read and understand your signals your body is sending you. You can encourage explicit interoception by talking with your child about their feelings and body sensations. Ask questions like, how does your stomach feel right now? Or can you feel your heart beating fast? Strategies can include body mindfulness. Body mindfulness is a practice that combines mindfulness with a specific focus on bodily sensations, emotions, and the mind-body connection. It encourages individuals to cultivate awareness of their bodily experiences, thoughts, and emotions in a non-judgmental and present way. Research shows that the interoceptive center of the brain is strongly activated during meditation. However, Traditional mindfulness techniques can be challenging for individuals, especially children who have experienced trauma, as trauma can significantly impact attention, perception, and the ability to feel safe within their own body. In addition, traditional body mindfulness is often very abstract, like paying attention to how the inside of your body feels. This is hard for the typical population, but is extremely challenging for children with histories of trauma. Instead, using adaptive forms of mindfulness can be helpful, such as using interoceptive awareness builders. Kelly Mahler developed a curriculum made up of these IA builders. If you're able to, you can purchase her interoceptive curriculum or interoceptive workbooks and activity cards, which are a great resource for developing IA in children with histories of trauma. It walks you through exercises for each body part and gives you tips and activities to increase IA throughout the whole body. You do have to purchase her books in order to access the activities and guides. So I'll link another great resource, which is free from the Department for Education in South Australia. This guide is free and provides various types of interoceptive activities, such as breathing techniques, exercise and movement activities with questions and steps to guide you and your child. I'll briefly go over some of these strategies to improve your interoceptive awareness. However, I really recommend looking at those resources as they go into much more detail. Some IA builder strategies include yoga and exercise with body awareness. So incorporating yoga or exercise routines that emphasize body awareness and movement, using playful and descriptive language during these activities can help an individual connect how different body parts feel during the movement. For example, during a yoga pose, guide them to notice how their muscles stretch or how their feet feel when grounded. You can start with how one body part feels, such as how your feet or hands feel, and gradually ask about more body parts. Cosmic Kids have great and engaging yoga videos on YouTube, as well as Kids Yoga Stories also has some great videos, including breathing videos and yoga stories. You can also use a visual body check chart, which is a way to create a colorful and visually appealing chart displaying body parts and emotions, and use simple icons or drawings to represent different feelings associated with each body part. This helps an individual match their sensations to emotions with a visual aid. You also want to foster the development of language by encouraging individuals to describe how their body feels during movement. So using interactive language exercises like body bingo, where they mark the body sensation they're experiencing during an activity, which promotes verbal expression of that sensation. I also recommend setting up sensory exploration stations. So setting up sensory stations with various textures, objects, or activities can encourage touching, squeezing, or moving different body parts. This allows an individual to explore and describe how each sensation feels, further building that sensory vocabulary. Lastly, introduce breathing exercises using playful imagery, like pretending to blow up a balloon or smelling a flower or blowing out birthday candles. Connect these exercises to how it makes their body and breath feel, linking to awareness with body sensations. So here are some examples of yoga and exercise. This was the Department of Education guide that I was just telling you about, as well as the Kids Yoga Stories and Cosmic Kids. This is an example of that body check chart. There's different emotions and feelings that you can attach to different parts of your body to kind of further that understanding. And then here are some breathing exercises. I've linked the source below, like Calm Ahoy Kids provides some great breathing exercises, as well as yoga stories for kids. And here are some examples of sensory exploration stations. I've linked some sites that offer some great examples, or you can just Google sensory bins for more ideas. In children with histories of trauma, the ability to recognize when they're hungry or when they are full may be impacted. They might feel hunger or fullness more intensely, or may have difficulty sensing it altogether. This might disrupt their eating patterns, such as eating irregularly, not wanting to eat at all, or struggling to stop eating when they're full. Before introducing any new strategy or activity to develop interoceptive awareness, ensure your child feels safe and secure. This will allow your child to be in more optimal state for connecting with their internal cues. I went into depth about this in Module 1, but remove distractions during mealtime by turning off the TV and putting down the phone to be more mindful during eating. Make sure you offer consistent and balanced meals. Regularity helps a child's body recognize patterns and anticipate meals, which over time will aid in the development of hunger and fullness cues. A general rule is to provide something to eat and drink every 2 to 3 hours a day. This will give your child about 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks. Older children may need at least 1 snack unless they are very physically active and may need between 1 and 3. Offer snacks a few hours after one meal ends and about 1 to 2 hours before the next meal begins. In addition, offer a wide variety of nutritious foods. This exposure can help them identify what foods make them feel satisfied and energized. Avoid using food as a punishment or reward. If you remember from Module 1, using food as a bribe or as a punishment can further create an unhealthy relationship with food. In Module 1, I also talked about the importance of modeling appropriate behaviors. For example, model healthy eating habits and a positive relationship with food. Becoming more aware of your own hunger and fullness cues can help your child understand their cues better. This includes not eating every meal distracted or in a rush, but instead setting time to eat without distractions so you can understand your own hunger and fullness cues. Another strategy is to eat slowly. This helps allow time for your child's body to experience the sensation of becoming full. It takes about 20 minutes for the brain to register fullness. So if you eat too fast, you don't have time to recognize those fullness cues, and you're more likely to overeat. Over time, consistently overeating changes how the stomach registers being full, and noticing becoming full becomes more difficult. You can use visual timers to help slow down eating. You can also use apps such as the FIST food ingestion timer, slow eats, 20-minute eating, eat slower, 80 bites, or time your bites. There's quite a few options that you can choose from. Avoid pressuring your child to eat more or less, and avoid using the rule that they must clear their plate before they can leave the table. This forces the child to eat past their comfortable fullness levels, which can result in more difficulties with self-regulation and eating behaviors, and it can make it harder for them to connect with their body cues. Let them decide how much they want to eat within healthy boundaries. For example, set out an appropriate portions, but if they don't eat it all, it's okay. I'll explain portions a little bit more in the next module. In addition, allow your child to serve themselves. It takes practice to learn how much food they need to meet their hunger. You can use a portion control plate during meals to help them visualize how much food they should be eating. You can just Google portion control plates to find the one you like. It's important not to use this plate as a restriction. So if your child wants multiple portions, allow it in modest amount if they're still hungry. It's also important to talk to your child about how they were feeling before the meal and then after the meal. Using the words hungry and full can help them start noticing these sensations. Use a visual hunger scale or colored cards to represent different levels of hunger and fullness to kind of help them recognize their hunger levels. A hunger scale provides a tangible way to connect their feelings with a visual reference, helping them associate these sensations with a recognizable level of hunger, and allows them to point to or choose a face or number that aligns with how they're feeling. For children who have difficulty understanding how to recognize and communicate their hunger, it may be helpful to communicate with your child about some of the physical signs of hunger. Some physical signs of hunger to look out for include tummy sounds, empty or hollow feeling in the stomach, throat, or mouth, feeling weak or dizzy or having a headache or difficulty concentrating, grumpiness or irritability, or having a dry mouth. Hunger can also manifest in other ways beyond the typical hunger associated with needing food, and it differs in physical symptoms. So there is mouth hunger, which is the desire to chew or eat due to oral stimulation. It often associated with the need to exercise the jaw or satisfy the sensation of chewing. You can use chewing gum if they're old enough, eating crunchy foods, or using non-food items like straws or chewing toys to help alleviate this teeth hunger. Chewing can be very calming for many people. You might also have hunger in response to the sight or smell of food, such as seeing a beautifully plated dish on a TV commercial or passing by a bakery with delicious displays can invoke a desire to eat, regardless of your actual hunger level. The brain's response to the visual stimulus of food can trigger a hunger-like feeling. In addition, our sense of smell is closely linked to our sense of taste, and the smell of food can trick our minds into thinking we're hungry. You might also have emotional hunger, which is the urge to eat in response to emotional triggers such as stress, anxiety, sadness, loneliness, or even happiness. Food is often used as a way to cope with or suppress emotions. Emotional hunger can be sudden and unrelated to physical hunger, and eating doesn't often lead to feeling physically satisfied. So for this, you can try to engage in stimulating activities or hobbies, do some deep breathing or physical exercise, such as riding a bike or going on a walk to divert your attention away from food. You might also have thirst hunger. Thirst hunger is the body's way of signaling dehydration. Sometimes people misinterpret thirst as hunger and eat when they're actually thirsty. Staying properly hydrated by drinking enough water throughout the day can help distinguish between true hunger and thirst. So try drinking a glass of water and waiting 10 to 15 minutes to see if this hunger goes away. Lastly, you might feel sleep hunger. Sleep hunger refers to the body's need for adequate rest and sleep. When you haven't had enough quality sleep, your body may crave more food to compensate for the lack of energy. So do something to wake your body up, like by exercising or splashing cold water on your face. Here are some activities you can work on to help address awareness of hunger and bring attention to the belly and how the mouth feel. When completing these activities, ask if your child has ever felt this way before and when, and could this be a link to one of their emotions? Ask if their body is comfortable or uncomfortable and what they could do to change their body feels right now. And if they try it, describe if it worked and what emotion they were feeling during this activity. So some activities include practicing pushing your belly out to stimulate feeling full, point out when someone's tummy growls or when the child's tummy growled, move your belly in and out as fast as you can, lightly tap the stomach with your hand and rub, and then notice how that feels. Ask your child what is something they can do to make their belly feel empty, full, tight, sore, or nauseous. Please consider consulting with a healthcare professional such as an occupational therapist if you observe persistent or severe difficulties in your child's interoceptive awareness, particularly if it significantly impacts the child's daily functioning, eating habits, emotional regulation, or overall well-being. So here I've provided some resources. Thanks for following along. If you have a few minutes, I really encourage you to either scan the QR code or go to the main module page. There's a link there that will take you to the survey. Your input as parents is invaluable in guiding the development of my capstone project, and your feedback will play a significant role in enhancing this education program. So I'd appreciate if you took a few minutes to complete the survey. Thanks again for watching. I hope you found some of the information useful. Module 3 should be uploaded to the website in about 1 week, and I'll be discussing sensory processing, oral motor skills, and nutrition.